The midnight storm, the road was empty, stretching across a dark and silent alien world. Jack, a human trucker, sat behind the wheel of his heavy cargo hauler. Rain pounded on the roof. Lightning flashed in the purple sky, turning the world white. For a second, the air outside looked cold and dangerous, but inside the truck, it was warm and safe. Jack hummed to himself, trying to stay awake. He was used to long nights and lonely roads. His job was to deliver cargo across strange planets. Tonight, his job was simple. Get the shipment to the city by sunrise, no matter what. But tonight was different. The storm was worse than usual. The road was wet and slippery. The truck's tires splashed through deep puddles, and wind howled like a living thing. Jack kept his eyes on the road, hands tight on the steering wheel. Suddenly, his headlights picked up something moving near the edge of the road. Jack slowed down, heart thumping. Out here, it could be anything, an animal, a thief, or something much worse. He reached for his old blaster just in case. The figure stumbled into the light. Jack's eyes widened. It was a girl, an alien girl, small and thin, soaked by the rain. She looked lost and terrified. Her skin was pale blue, her big eyes shining. With fear, she wore strange, torn clothes and hugged herself tightly, shivering. Jack rolled down his window a little. "Hey, are you okay?" He called out, his voice steady but gentle. The alien girl took a step back, afraid. She tried to speak, but her words were strange and broken. "Cold, please." "Help," she managed to say, her voice shaking. Jack knew he couldn't leave her out here. He had seen enough suffering on these roads. He quickly opened the passenger door. "Come inside, it's warm, I won't hurt you." The girl looked unsure, but the freezing rain was too much. Slowly, she climbed into the truck, her small hands clutching the door. Jack handed her a dry towel and watched as she tried to dry herself, still shaking. He glanced at her face. She was young, maybe the same age as his little sister back home. He tried to give her a friendly smile. "My name is Jack, you don't have to be scared." The alien girl looked at him, her big eyes full of tears. "Lyra," she whispered, pointing to herself. "Thank you," Jack nodded. He started the truck again and drove off into the storm. Lyra sat quietly, watching everything with wide eyes. She tried to speak a few words, but Jack could tell she didn't know much human language. Still, her eyes said enough. She was lost, scared, and very grateful. As the truck rumbled through the storm, Jack tried to make her feel comfortable. He offered her a hot drink from his thermos. She sipped it slowly, warmth spreading across her face. Suddenly, the radio crackled with static. Jack turned the dial, trying to clear the signal. A voice broke through, urgent and strange. "Warning. Road not safe. Unknown activity detected. All travelers beware." Jack frowned. He looked at Lyra, who was now staring at the radio in terror. Was someone looking for her? Was she running from something or someone? He tried to ask, "Are you in trouble?" But she just shook her head and hugged herself tighter. Outside, the storm got even worse. Jack noticed strange lights flashing in the distance, moving fast, getting closer. His instincts told him they were not just rescue patrols or ordinary travelers. Lyra saw the lights too. She quickly ducked down behind the seats, her body tense with fear. Jack realized she must be hiding from those lights. Whoever they were, they wanted her. Jack had a choice to make. He could drop Lyra off at the next station and save himself from trouble. Or he could keep her safe and find out why she was running. Remembered the look in her eyes, hopeless and desperate. Jack sighed, making up his mind. He pressed the gas pedal and took a sharp turn onto an old side road, away from the main highway and away from the chasing lights. Lyra looked up at him, confused, but Jack just nodded. "Don't worry, I'll keep you safe." Thunder crashed overhead. The truck bounced over rough ground as Jack sped deeper into the unknown. Lyra clung to her seat, hope returning to her. Eyes for the first time. In that moment, two strangers, one human, one alien, became something more than just a driver and a runaway. In the heart of the midnight storm, their journey had just begun. The mysterious pursuers, the storm finally began to slow as dawn hinted on the edge of the sky. But inside Jack's truck, tension only grew. Every few minutes, Lyra glanced nervously out the window, searching the darkness behind them. Her small hands clutched the towel Jack had given her, twisting the fabric tighter and tighter. Jack watched her in the rearview mirror. He wanted to ask questions, but didn't want to scare her more. He focused on the rough side road, steering around potholes and rocks. The truck's engine growled through the early morning gloom. Suddenly, a flash of light danced across the wet glass behind them. Lyra gasped and ducked, her fear plain on her face. Jack checked his mirrors. 3 fast-moving lights swerved onto the same side road, weaving around debris like predators on a scent. Jack felt his chest tighten. "They're following us," he said quietly, not sure if Lyra understood. But she seemed to know anyway. She tried to slide down lower in her seat, eyes wide and scared. Jack's mind raced. He knew this part of the planet was full of secret paths and forgotten mining tracks. He turned off the headlights and switched to low-beam runners, hoping the pursuers would lose their trail. The rain had softened, but fog had begun to rise from the muddy ground. Jack took a sharp left, bumping along a narrow, winding path between towering alien trees. The forest closed in around them, full of deep shadows and strange noises. Lyra pressed something into Jack's hand. He looked down, surprised to find 3 small, shining coins, alien currency, marked with symbols he didn't recognize. "For help." "For save," she said softly, offering what little she had. Jack shook his head. "No payment needed, kid. Just stay low." He closed her hand gently around the coins and pushed them back toward her. He didn't want money. He wanted to know why anyone would chase a child across a stormy planet. Behind them, the lights grew larger, closer. The truck scanner beeped. A warning. Unidentified vehicles were locking onto their position. Jack flipped a switch on his dashboard. A special screen blinked to life, showing a live feed from the back camera. 3 black spider-like drones sped over the ground, scanning the truck with red laser eyes. Jack's heart pounded. "Stay with me, Lyra," he said, shifting gears and accelerating. The truck roared forward, mud splattering across its sides. The chase was on. Jack zigzagged between giant, twisted tree roots, dodging fallen branches. The drones kept coming, closing the distance with each second. Lyra hid her face but peeked up, trembling. She tried to whisper a word, but only static came out. Jack reached into the glove box and handed Lyra a small radio. "If I tell you, press this red button, okay?" Lyra nodded, clutching the device as if it was her lifeline. Suddenly, one of the drones surged ahead, blocking the path. Its red eyes flashed, and a metallic voice echoed across the clearing. "Return the asset. You are in violation of planetary code." Jack hit the brakes and spun the wheel hard. The truck slid sideways, nearly tipping, but Jack kept control. He shot down a muddy sidetrack, kicking up water and debris. The drone fired a warning shot, a bolt of energy that sizzled past the truck's mirror. Lyra screamed, hiding her face again. Jack gritted his teeth. He knew he couldn't outrun the machines forever. He needed a plan. He spotted a half-collapsed shed up ahead, a relic from the mining days. Jack slammed on the brakes and swung the truck around behind it, cutting the engine and all the lights. He signaled Lyra to stay quiet. The two of them crouched in silence, listening as the drones buzzed past. Jack's heart hammered in his chest. He could hear his own breath, loud in the stillness. Minutes dragged by. Finally, the hum of the drones faded into the distance. Jack let out a shaky breath. He turned to Lyra. "Who are you running from?" He asked softly, "And what do they want?" Lyra hesitated, then slowly reached under her torn coat. She pulled out a tiny locket glowing faint blue. She held it out, showing Jack. "Bad people want this. I run." "No safe." Jack looked at the locket and at Lyra's frightened face. He nodded, understanding. He put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "We'll keep moving. I won't let them take you." The sky outside was turning light gray. The danger wasn't over, but Jack and Lyra had survived the night for now. As Jack started the truck and guided it back onto another secret path, he made a silent promise. He would protect Lyra, no matter what it cost him. Secrets in the cargo bay. Jack barely slept that morning. As the sun climbed over the misty forest, he pulled his truck into a hidden clearing. The place was quiet except for the sound of dripping rain and faraway bird calls. Lyra curled up in the passenger seat, fast asleep, her tiny hands holding the glowing locket tight against her chest. Jack sat in the driver's seat, staring out the window, mind full of questions. He wondered what secrets Lyra was hiding. What was so special about the locket? And why did powerful machines want her so badly? The truck was muddy and dented from the chase. Jack stood and stretched his tired legs. He moved around to check his cargo, opening the heavy side door quietly. As soon as he did, a strange light flickered from inside the cargo bay. Jack frowned. He didn't remember packing anything that glowed. He stepped inside, careful not to wake Lyra, and switched on a flashlight. His truck was loaded with mining supplies, boxes, tools, and fuel cells, but one crate in the corner was different. Strange blue symbols glowed softly across its surface, slowly pulsing, as if alive. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He reached out and touched the crate. It was cold and smooth, humming under his fingers. As he traced the markings, he noticed something even stranger. The symbols were the same as the ones on Lyra's locket. He heard a soft noise behind him. Lyra stood at the edge of the cargo bay, her eyes wide and worried. She hugged her arms around herself, looking small and frightened in the gray light. Jack knelt down. "Lyra, do you know what this is?" He pointed to the glowing crate. She nodded slowly. "My family, protect, inside, secret. Very old." Jack tried to keep his voice calm. "The drones, are they after what's in the crate, or you?" Lyra shook her head. "Both. They want locket. Locket opens, safe. Without, cannot take." Suddenly, the truck's radio snapped on, filling the bay with static and a cold mechanical voice. "Trucker Jack, you are being watched. Give up the asset, and no harm will come to you. This is your final warning." Jack's stomach turned to ice. He slammed the radio off. Someone powerful was tracking him, maybe even listening to everything they said. Lyra looked even more scared. She hid the locket under her shirt and pressed close to Jack. Trembling, he realized he couldn't trust anyone, not even the local authorities. Whoever wanted Lyra had power everywhere. Jack pulled Lyra gently to her feet. "We have to move. I know a place we can hide for a while, but you'll have to trust me." Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with tears. "Trust you. Please, help." They climbed back into the truck. Jack drove away from the clearing, taking back roads through tangled woods and rocky hills. Every bump in the road made the cargo rattle. The glowing crate seemed to shine brighter with every mile. As they traveled, Lyra tried to explain more. She used simple words and gestures. Her family had been protectors of something important, something hidden for many generations. Bad people, she called them hunters, were always searching for it. Her parents were gone, taken by the hunters. And now she was alone. Jack's heart ached for her. He understood now that helping Lyra was about more than just being kind. If he failed, something terrible might happen, not just to Lyra, but to everyone on the planet. Hours passed. The truck grew hot under the sun. Jack handed Lyra a bottle of water and half of his last sandwich. She ate slowly, every bite careful and polite. Suddenly, The truck jolted, an alarm flashed on the dashboard. The computer warned. Cargo door open. Security breach. Jack's eyes snapped to the mirror. A small black drone had somehow attached itself to the back of the truck, slicing through the lock on the cargo bay. Jack shouted, "Hold on!" He swerved the truck, trying to shake the drone loose. The vehicle bounced over rocks and dirt. And finally, with a crunch, the drone tumbled off, sparks flying. Jack didn't stop. He pushed the truck faster, heart racing, sweat running down his brow. Lyra held tight to the seat, whispering words in her own language, her face full of worry and hope. Finally, Jack found an old cave he remembered from past deliveries. He drove. The truck inside, out of sight from the sky. The cave was dark and cool, and for the first time they could rest. Jack turned to Lyra, voice gentle but firm. "We have to hide here for a while. I'll protect you. But you need to tell me everything about that crate and about your family's secret." Lyra nodded, taking a shaky breath. She looked up at Jack with trust. For the first time she didn't look afraid. Together, in the darkness of the cave, they prepared for whatever came next. Their fight for safety and for the truth had only just begun. The roadblock. Jack woke to the sound of his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. The cave was still and silent, the only light a pale blue shimmer from the alien locket resting beside Lyra. She slept curled up in a blanket, her small frame barely making a dent in the rough floor. For a moment, Jack almost believed they were safe. But then the memory of the drone, the warning voice on the radio, and the glowing crate returned like a heavy storm. He checked his watch. There was no time to waste. They couldn't hide forever. Sooner or later, the hunters would find their trail again. Jack quietly packed their things and gently shook Lyra awake. She blinked at him, confused, but didn't complain. Jack helped her up and handed her a snack from his bag, a sweet protein bar from Earth, which she tasted carefully and then smiled shyly. The truck rumbled back to life as Jack steered it out of the cave. The forest was quiet, but the birds were restless. Every sound made Jack's nerves tighten. He drove fast, taking secret paths he'd learned over the years. Lyra kept the locket close, staring at the glowing crate in the back with worried eyes. As they rounded a sharp bend, sunlight broke through the trees. For a split second, the world looked normal, just a trucker and a girl rolling down a back road. But Jack's hope lasted only a moment. He slammed on the brakes. A row of sleek, black vehicles blocked the road ahead, no markings, just mirrored windows and heavy wheels. Jack counted at least 6. From behind trees, armed guards appeared in dark armor, faces hidden by masks. They held strange weapons and stood in a silent line. Lyra gasped and shrank in her seat, clutching the locket. Jack squeezed her shoulder, whispering, "Stay calm, don't open the door." A voice boomed from a loudspeaker, cold and robotic. "Driver, step out with hands visible. Surrender the asset. This is your final warning." Jack's mind raced. He knew the routine official checkpoints were common, but these men looked different. More dangerous. Not police, private hunters, hired to track down Lyra and whatever she protected. He considered his choices. He could hand Lyra over and walk away, pretend he never saw her. The idea made his skin crawl. He glanced at her, so small, so scared. Yet trusting him with everything. Jack made his decision. He tapped a hidden button under the dashboard. Instantly, thick smoke poured from vents at the back of the truck, flooding the road with a white cloud. Alarms blared and the guards shouted, confused by the sudden cover. "Now!" Jack yelled, grabbing Lyra's hand. He pressed another switch, opening a secret hatch near the floor. Together, they crawled out the other side, the world around them. Nothing but white fog and shouting voices. They ran, Jack leading, Lyra following, both ducking low through the wet grass. A guard spotted them and fired a warning shot, burning a hole in a nearby tree. Jack pulled Lyra into the underbrush, heart pounding. For minutes, they crawled and ran, never looking back. The sound of angry shouts and running boots echoed through the woods. Jack heard a guard's voice. "Search everywhere. The girl must not escape." Lyra slipped and almost fell, but Jack caught her. He whispered, "Don't stop. Just a little farther." She nodded, breathing hard but never letting go of his hand. Finally, they reached a muddy river, its water rushing fast from the night storm. Jack knew there was only one way. He helped Lyra down the bank and jumped in after her. The water was freezing, but it swept them quickly away from the road, carrying them downstream and out of sight. By the time they climbed out, gasping and soaked, the guards were far behind. Jack helped Lyra to her feet. She was shivering, but her eyes were shining with fierce determination. They hiked through tangled bushes and up a rocky hill. From the top, Jack could see the roadblock far below, still covered in smoke and confusion. For now they were safe. Lyra reached for his hand. "Thank you, Jack. You..." "Brave," Jack smiled, tired but proud. "You're safe, Lyra, but we have to keep moving. Do you know a place where no one can find you?" Lyra hesitated, then pointed to a jagged mountain in the distance. "There. Old place. Secret for my people." Jack nodded. It would be a hard journey, but now they had a goal and new hope. Together, they set off through the wild land, each step carrying them closer to the mountain, to safety, and to the secrets only Lyra knew. Their escape from the roadblock would be talked about for years. But for Jack and Lyra, it was only the next step in a long and dangerous journey, one that would test every bit of courage they had left. The ancient ruins, the wind howled through the rocky mountains as Jack and Lyra climbed higher and higher. Each step was harder than the last. Mud clung to their boots and sharp stones cut Jack's hands, but he didn't care. He could see the mountain peak up ahead, just like Lyra said. Somewhere up there, a secret waited for them. They stopped to rest in a patch of wild purple flowers. Lyra's breaths came in short bursts, but she never complained. She pointed up, her eyes shining. "Almost there. Old place." "Safe." Jack nodded and offered her his jacket. The sky was turning orange and pink as the sun began to set, painting long shadows across the land. They needed to find shelter before dark. Somewhere the hunters couldn't follow as they pushed through a thicket of tall grass. Jack's foot hit something hard. He bent down and wiped away the dirt, uncovering a flat stone covered in glowing symbols, the same ones as Lyra's locket. He called Lyra over. She knelt beside him, touched the stone with shaking hands, and pressed her locket into a carved slot. Instantly, the ground trembled. The stone slid open with a deep, rumbling sound, revealing a narrow stairway spiraling into darkness. Doc looked at Lyra. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "Trust me." With only the locket's soft blue light, they climbed down into the earth. The air was cold and smelled of old secrets. Strange shadows danced along the walls, and every step echoed like footsteps from a ghost. At the bottom, they entered a massive room so big, Jack couldn't see the far wall. Crystal columns glowed gently, lighting up ancient carvings and strange machines. In the middle of the room stood a tall pedestal, holding an orb that pulsed with blue and silver light. Lyra walked straight to the pedestal. Jack followed, alert for any traps. He watched as she whispered words in her own language and placed the locket on the orb. Light exploded around them, and for a moment, Jack thought he was flying. When the glow faded, the orb floated above the pedestal, spinning slowly. Blue holograms flickered through the air, showing stars, planets, and strange symbols. Lyra's eyes were wide with awe and fear. Suddenly, the sound of boots echoed above. Voices shouted in an alien tongue. The hunters had found them. Jack grabbed Lyra's arm. "We have to hide." But Lyra shook her head. "No time. Need the orb, its answer." The hunters burst into the chamber, weapons drawn. Red lasers danced across the stone floor. Their leader, a tall alien with cold silver eyes, pointed at Lyra. "Give us the locket and the orb." "Now," Jack stepped in front of Lyra, spreading his arms wide. "Leave her alone." The leader sneered. "You are only human. You can't stop us." Jack's mind raced. He remembered the old mining tools in his bag. Quickly, he pulled out a small EMP device, praying it still worked. He tossed it toward the hunters and shouted, "Cover your eyes." There was a bright flash and a high-pitched whine. The hunters stumbled, blinded and stunned for a few seconds. Jack grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her toward a side tunnel, but Lyra wouldn't leave the orb. With trembling hands, she spoke the last words of her family's code. The orb spun, faster and brighter, sending beams of light at the machines and the hunters' weapons, shorting them out. One by one, the leader roared in anger. "Stop them!" Jack lifted Lyra onto his back and dashed for the exit. The chamber shook as the orb's power surged. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Crystal pillars shattered at the tunnel entrance. Lyra twisted in Jack's arms and reached for the orb. It shot into her hands, shrinking to the size of a marble. She closed her fist around it, just as the chamber collapsed behind them. Dust filled the air as Jack and Lyra ran through winding passages. They burst out into the fading sunlight. Coughing and blinking behind them, the entrance caved in, burying the hunters inside. The mountain went quiet again. Jack and Lyra fell to the ground, exhausted. The orb still glowed in Lyra's palm, a tiny, powerful secret. Jack smiled at her, heart pounding. "You did it. You saved us." Lyra managed a tired smile. "We did. You, my family now." Above them, the stars began to appear, and for the first time, Jack felt a strange hope. The secret of the ancient ruins was safe for now, but their journey was not over yet. The gift of gratitude night fell fast on the mountain. The sky turned deep purple, sprinkled with stars like scattered diamonds. Jack and Lyra sat by a small fire at the cave's edge, wrapped in blankets and silence. Their clothes were torn, faces dirty, but for the first time in days, they felt safe. Lyra cradled the tiny glowing orb in her hands. It pulsed softly, casting blue light over her delicate features. She looked at Jack, her eyes full of thoughts she couldn't put into words. Jack poked at the fire with a stick, watching the sparks dance upward. His body ached, his mind replaying every danger, every escape. But when he looked at Lyra, he felt a quiet pride. He had kept his promise. Against all odds, they were alive. A cold breeze swept through the cave. Jack shrugged off his jacket and handed it to Lyra, who smiled shyly and wrapped herself in the warmth. For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sounds were the gentle crackle of the fire and the distant wind. Finally, Lyra broke the silence. She placed the orb between them and reached for her locket. With careful fingers, she opened it, revealing a hologram of her family, a mother, a father, and a little girl who looked just like her. Lyra pointed to the faces and then to her own heart. "Family," she said softly. Then she pointed at Jack. "Now you," Jack blinked, surprised. "Me? Your family?" She nodded, her eyes shining with tears. "You protect, you help, you save my life." Jack felt his throat tighten. No one had ever called him family in a long time, not since he left Earth. He smiled, trying not to show his own tears. "I'm glad I found you, Lyra." Lyra looked down, her cheeks turning a faint shade of purple, the alien sign of deep gratitude. She took the orb and pressed it into Jack's hands. He hesitated. "Lyra, that's your family's secret. I can't take it." She shook her head. "It is gift. You safe now. Orb helps heal." Jack stared at the orb, unsure. Suddenly, it warmed in his hand, sending gentle pulses through his skin. He felt the pain in his side ease. The wound from their escape faded away, replaced by a new strength. He looked at Lyra in wonder. "Thank you." Lyra smiled, her whole face lighting up. She pressed her small hand on top of his, closing his fingers around the orb. Gratitude, not just words. I give you my family's trust. A sudden sound made them both freeze, a quiet chirping from Jack's old radio. He turned it on, and a message crackled through, but this time it wasn't a threat. It was a call. For help. Another voice, lost and afraid, searching for a way out of the storm. Jack looked at Lyra. There are others who need help. Like you did. Lyra nodded, understanding. We help together. Jack smiled, feeling lighter than he had in years. He realized this wasn't the end of his journey, it was only the beginning. With Lyra by his side, he could face anything. Reached into his bag and handed Lyra the last piece of chocolate he'd been saving. She took it, tasted it, and her face broke into a happy grin. It was the first real smile Jack had seen from her. The fire burned lower as the stars shone brighter. In the darkness, Jack and Lyra talked about Earth and stars, about families and hopes. The orb glowed between them, not just a secret anymore, but a sign of trust, friendship, and a new future. By midnight, Lyra was asleep, the orb safe in her hands. Jack watched over her, feeling a warmth inside he thought he'd lost forever. Tomorrow, new dangers would come. But for tonight, under a sky full of endless possibilities, Jack knew they were both exactly where they belonged. The journey begins. The world was golden at sunrise. Warm rays touched the mountain, melting the last bits of night. Jack woke first, stretching his stiff arms as the sunlight filled the cave. He watched Lyra sleep, peaceful for once, her small hands gently curled around the glowing orb. Outside, birds sang in strange alien voices, announcing a new day. Jack stepped outside and breathed in the cool, fresh air. For the first time since this wild journey began, he felt calm. There was no sound of chasing drones, no hunters in the shadows, only quiet and hope. He remembered his old life, always moving, always alone, never sure where he truly belonged. Now standing here, everything felt different. A soft footstep behind him made him turn. Lyra stood in the sunlight, the blue orb tucked safely in a pouch around her neck. Her eyes sparkled with wonder as she looked at the world below, the rivers, the forest, the tiny dots of distant towns. She reached for Jack's hand, a gesture that said more than words ever could. "Where go now?" she asked, her voice stronger, more confident than before. Jack smiled, feeling a gentle pride. "Anywhere you want, Lyra. The galaxy is wide. We have a lot to see." Lyra nodded, excitement blooming on her face. She pointed to the old battered truck still parked below, half hidden in tall grass. "Your ship, still work?" Jack laughed, shaking his head. "Might need a few repairs. But we're not finished yet." He pulled out his toolkit, and together, they walked down to the truck. Lyra watched closely as Jack explained each part, her curiosity growing. Hours passed as they fixed broken wires and checked the fuel. Sometimes Lyra would laugh, a clear sound like bells, and Jack couldn't help but laugh too. For the first time, the truck didn't feel like just a machine. It felt like a home. As they worked, Jack picked up the radio again. The message from the night before was still playing, a broken call for help. Lyra listened, her face serious. She turned to Jack and said, "We help, like you helped me." Jack nodded. He understood. They had something precious now, something worth sharing. Not just the orb, not just their friendship, but hope itself. By afternoon, the truck was ready. Jack helped Lyra into the passenger seat and gave her a new blanket. He climbed behind the wheel and started the engine. It rumbled to life, louder and stronger than ever before. Lyra grinned, holding the orb in her lap. "Ready, Captain Jack?" Jack grinned back. "Ready, co-pilot Lyra." They drove down the winding road, leaving the mountain behind. The sky above was clear and endless, the path ahead full of new adventures. Every mile took them farther from Fear and closer to a future they could build together. As they rolled into the nearest outpost, people stared at the truck, muddy, battered, and carrying two unlikely friends. Some recognized Jack from old stories. Others whispered about the glowing blue light in Lyra's hands, but Jack only smiled and waved. He didn't need money or praise. He had something better, a family, and a new mission. That evening, Jack and Lyra sat under the stars, sharing food with other lost travelers. Lyra showed the orb to a young child, letting her hold it and watch it glow. Jack told stories about his adventures, making everyone laugh and feel less alone. When the campfire died down, Lyra looked at Jack. "You changed my life." Jack looked back, voice soft. "You changed mine too." They both knew their journey wasn't over. The galaxy was still full of dangers, and maybe the hunters would return one day. But now they were ready. Together, they faced the future too. Unlikely heroes, bound not by blood, but by kindness, trust, and a promise kept through every storm. And somewhere, in the vastness of space, their legend began, a story told by truckers, travelers, and lost souls everywhere. The story of the human who said no to payment, and the petite alien girl who found her own way to show gratitude. The end.